Super excited. Today I've got a friend of mine. Her name is Umariam, and I've been trying to get this lady onto this podcast for the longest time. Finally, she's here. Thank you so much for being here, my friend.
It's nice to be here, friend.
Awesome. Okay, so just a bit of context in terms of why Umariam is here. There are usually times where, let's say it's Eid, and I'll have a couple of questions for Umariam, and Umariam will share something very insightful about the Muslim faith, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. I wonder if other people know that. And then just other times they'll just have random questions because I find the Muslim faith and just all faiths very interesting. Yeah, so Umariam usually gives me a lot of insightful information, and so I thought it would be really nice for us to just jump onto this platform and just have a conversation on the Muslim faith, and
Yeah.
in particular, Mariam's experience and perspective on all things Muslim. Ne?
Yes.
Is that a good intro, Mariam? Would you say that's where
Yeah,
we'd
it's a
like the conversation to go?
and it is true. You do ask a lot of questions.
I
Sometimes you're just like,
do.
guy, why hasn't he converted already?
Okay,
Yeah.
but my friend, maybe just before we jump into all of that, Umariam, who is going to share all of this information with us. Who is she? Who's Mariam? What is it that you can tell us about yourself that helps us better engage with you as a person?
So I'm Mariam Ziadi, living and working in Saudi Arabia. I love to travel. I love food. I just love to be out there, adventurous. I like to be spiritual as well. And I'm just like, I'm a traveler. I think that summarizes my personality, whether it would be with family, friends. My personality is just a travel personality, You can hop in here, speak to a couple of people, have a good time, go there, have a good time. I can't be situated in one spot. Yeah. So yeah, that's me. That's me.
Awesome, awesome. And how does Umariam come to embrace the Muslim faith? Were you born into it? Did you convert into it? Maybe give us a bit of background in that regard as well.
So I was born into the faith. My father was very, very religious man, and most of the Malawian people are generally of the Muslim faith. So when we came to South Africa and we were born, and we just were, I guess, being born into the religion, you automatically just get into it. It's what I know, it's what I've learned. I've only been to Muslim schools. I've never experienced the public school or except for university. University was the first time I actually met um, like got to experience a non-Islamic environment, because even in my schools there were people who were not Muslim there. It was mixed, but I've this dress code was still Islamic. The prayer in the morning was Islamic. So being at university, that was the first time I've actually got to see it all, and and
Mm.
experience, I'd say, different religions and different cultures at the highest point. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I imagine that must have been a transition going from uh, Muslim primary school, Muslim high school, and then boom, just like transitioning into
Yeah, it
tertiary.
was. It was. Actually, for me, it was a dress code shock. So as I said, we because I was in a Muslim school, the dress code was the long dresses, and then when you got to university, it's like, everyone's dressing so differently, everyone expresses themselves so differently, and it was like, where do I slide myself in without being either too extreme or without being, too snobbish, for lack of better words. So yeah, there was, and then you realize that, South Africa is such a rainbow nation, and you learn to appreciate everybody's culture. And it was actually so easy. I think my anxiety was more serious on a higher level than the actual situation. And it kind of made me feel shy to make friends because I wasn't sure, like, being from different cultures, would they understand that if we go out to eat now, I can't eat this because it's not halal, things like that. But surprisingly, like, the friends that I made were so loving, so caring. And being in Durban, a lot of things are halal, so there were different options, and we could always choose from everything. And they understood that I don't eat pork, so even they sometimes pack me a little lunch, and they'll be like, "No, we bought rainbow chicken. It's halal. You can eat from here." And we cooked it without any pork or anything in the kitchen, or on using the same type of pot or something like that. So it was I think my anxiety was just a little high, but it was actually a very nice experience. And I still have all those friends from there, from university, which I appreciate a lot. Yeah.
So as you're speaking, I'm actually trying to because I have no conception of what a Muslim school would be like. I mean, apart from what I imagine the dress code would be, um, and the food options and that sort of thing. But perhaps, and I know maybe you wouldn't have an in-depth like conception of what a public school is like. But just from your imagination, what do you imagine are the core differences between like a traditional school versus like a Muslim school?
So my Muslim high school would actually separate us. So we'd have like a little board in the middle of the class where there'd be females on the side and males on the side. So I'd assume in a public school, it's like mixed and everybody sits everywhere depending on where you would like to sit. And basically just religious classes, I think. In a public school, I'm not sure, maybe they'd have clubs, because we used to have clubs in primary school, because our primary school was a Muslim school, but it was mixed. So we'd have different types of clubs, and then you'd have like a Quran lesson here, Quran club, or Bible class here, things like that. So I'd assume that they would have that, but for us, it was compulsory in high school, and you'd take like 3 periods having I can't find the English word, but the word is fiqh, which is like Islamic basic knowledge, like day-to-day knowledge you need to know, like how to be a nice person, what to read when you're doing this, how to make intentions, things like that. And then you'd have like a Quran class after that. That's I think would be the only difference. Yeah.
Gotcha. And then maybe the Quran. So like the Quran. Okay, this is my basic like knowledge of what the Quran is. The Quran is basically a religious text, right? And for me, my conception is that it's like the Bible. So it contains these historical accounts about prophets who and the experiences with God and the teachings and that sort of thing.
Yes.
Is that close to what it is, or can you like maybe elaborate a bit more on what the Quran is and what it means for a person of the Muslim faith?
So the Quran basically has stories from the beginning of time till the end of time, and there are portions of it that come from the Bible as well as the Jewish original text. And for us, the Quran is very important because it has everything you need, basically. Like, if you want to know how to live your life, it's in there. If you want to know how to treat women, for example, it's in there. If you want to know how to do business, it's in there. If you want to learn about science and mathematics, it's all in there. So for us, it's basically, it helps with staying connected to your Lord, because it's text directly from him, and also just help you with how to live life or find answers to anything that you would need. Every answer you would need, could possibly need, is in there, either in a story, and there are books that have further translated it to like make you understand the concept or the meanings and things like that. And so we use it to seek guidance and to stay closer to the Lord, basically.
one question that I'll come back to later that I just had as you were speaking, but just before we get there, for a person of the Muslim faith, so for Mariam, what does a day to day look like of you practicing your faith? So like what does that look like?
Okay, so it it would be different everywhere. Like in Korea, for example, it would have been where I'd wake up for the morning prayer, then I'd go to work and work the whole day, then come back and pray the missing prayers that I've prayed. And then after that, have dinner and pray the last final prayer. On Thursdays, because Friday is considered a special auspicious day, then I'd read some Quran. So I should be reading every day, but I don't. But I try to read Thursdays, just to stay afloat with everything. But here in Saudi Arabia, it's a lot easier because that's the faith of the country. So it's nicer to be, for example, at a restaurant or at a cafe, and then the call of prayer goes and you break and you read on the side. Things like that, which I really appreciate. Like we are told not to extend prayer time for too long. If you are able to do it then and then, because then it keeps you closer and reminds you that there is a higher power during the different times of the days. So yeah, in Saudi Arabia, I appreciate that a lot more. Like even if we are working or we're teaching and we hear the call of prayer, then everybody breaks for 10 minutes. We go, you pray, and then you come back and you continue. It's little things like that that you actually find is nice. I appreciate it a lot.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Oh, then I'm sure because I know just from like experiences that either you've shared or mutual friends have shared that sometimes being in a country like Korea that isn't necessarily like majority Muslim, you have to sort of like find spaces to pray versus being in Saudi Arabia where the whole country sort of embraces your faith. I'm sure that is like a breath of fresh air.
Something that I found very interesting or fascinating, I should say, like even in South Africa, we have many churches, many synagogues, many mosques, but you still need to find that time to go and pray, But here, it's like everywhere. Like you'd go to a park and you'd find just a whole lot of mats on the side, just staying there the whole day. So if you feel like you're walking past the park and it's prayer time, just stop and pray. And I found that even in the roads, like some long roads that you walk on, and I was like, wow. So people just pull out the mat and just pray and then carry on about their day. So I was like, bruh, no, really. For me, that was wild. And then I was in Qatar recently.
Yeah.
And they're everywhere also, like in the subway, and it was prayer time that one time, and I needed to get somewhere else, and I was like, oh, there's a mosque right here, might as well just pray and carry on my journey. It's like we do have there's rules and stuff for when you're traveling. It's you can shorten your prayer and things like that, but it's nice to just have it there, do it, then packing them all up in the evening and just praying everything. It's also exhausting, you're tired. So yeah, I appreciate that. It's nice.
I'm actually glad you clarified because when you said that you can pray in the subway, I'm thinking like as the as the subway, the train is moving, you can
like by the bathrooms. They're usually by the bathrooms, and then the next room, small prayer room.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, so once again, as you're speaking, Mariam, I'm just reflecting on, so as a Christian, and this is when I was practicing Christianity very strongly. Like I still consider myself a Christian, just not like I'm not as active as I used to be. We'd be encouraged to pray at least 2 times a day. So like in the morning when you wake up and in the evening before you go to bed. Those are like standard prayers. And of course, during the day, if you so feel inclined, you could speak to God and just connect with Him in that way.
Yeah.
But I did find that a lot of the times my prayers felt it felt like routine. It was just like going through the motions, and there were moments where I'd be like, oh, just this feeling that I'm connected to God, and it's this either
Yeah.
cathartic feeling or this just
I,
feeling where prayer is actually meaningful. So I'm just
yeah.
wondering for you, how is prayer, given that in the Muslim faith, you're encouraged to pray, I think a bit more than what the requirement is in Christianity, right? So how many
Yes.
prayers,
Oh,
yes,
5.
would you be encouraged to do a day?
Yes. Yeah, we encourage to pray 5 times a day. The prayer is 5 times a day. But yes, even with Islam, I think that's just the general thing with everyone. There's moments where you feel connected, and there's moments where you don't feel connected. There's moments where I come back and I'm like, it's like I'm really, really tired. Like I don't, and then you hear the call of prayer and you're like, "Ish," you know. But then, like as you grow, like when we were kids, I swear, like I wasn't really praying. I was doing it because, like, my father's there and my mom's there, and they're like, go pray, you know. But as you grow, as you learn and see the meaning and the benefit of the prayers, then you start to realize, like, how that's how it starts to get in touch with you, and you start to feel inclined to want to actually pray. So even for us, our 5 prayers, they each have different types of like context, or like, like meaning. So like the morning prayer would be a nice way for you to thank God that you had a good rest, and you to start the day, by praising the Lord, and to have a good day, and for Him to bless you with whatever you're going to do for the rest of the day. And then you have the midday prayer. It's like in the middle of your day, to thank the Lord that you have had a good day so far, and business is going well or it's not going well, and you can ask for your different types of prayers depending on you. But it's to just appreciate that you have made it to however far you've made it, and now you would like to continue, and you'd like to be blessed as you continue. And then you have the mid-afternoon prayer, which is more beneficial for like business people. It's like just to say thank you for the good business that I've received today, and I hope that things get better for the next day. Then you have the early evening prayer, which is like, it was a good day, I've had a good meal, and now so for Muslims, that prayer is considered like a start for the next day. So you basically thanking them for the evening that's about to come, and a good day for the next day. Then the night one is just a night prayer. Have a good night rest. It was a good day, and I'm thanking the Lord for everything that I've been blessed with today. And then pray for whatever you would like to come. So, yeah, I think understanding it actually helps bring more meaning to it. Because if you're just praying just for the sake of praying, and you don't feel what you're praying, it's pointless, Like, even for us, there have been many hadith. Hadith are like sayings that the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has said, and which...
Wait. Say that again. Slow it down. Because, okay, here's what I heard. That's what I heard.
So when we say Prophet Muhammad's name, we always say peace be upon him. That's in English. And in Arabic, it's Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Peace be upon him. That's yes. So
Wait,
it's sending blessings.
Teach me that.
Okay. Sallallahu Alaihi
Sallallahu Alaihi
Wasallam.
Wasallam. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
Alaihi.
Ah!
It reminds me of school when my teacher used to do that, because it's written as A, but the pronunciation is Ain.
Ain.
Ain, yes. Like comes from Allahu Alayhi Wasallam. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So in English, it's basically saying praise be to the Prophet,
Mm,
sending like a greeting.
mm,
That's what I'm saying. Oh yeah, so there's a few sayings that he has said that which we follow and we listen to, and one of it was like the worst way a person could cheat themselves is cheating themselves in prayer. So even if you don't feel like praying, just put the effort out there. Try your. It's not saying be perfect or just like pray the hardest or feel it or the emotion, but the fact that you put a step forward and you're trying, even if you don't feel like it, put the step forward, and that's the best way so you don't cheat yourself out of any blessings that you could get, because you never know. That single day where you pray where you don't feel like praying is the time when all your prayers are going to be answered, so you don't want to miss it. Yeah.
Gotcha. So earlier on when you were speaking, you mentioned about how one of the purposes of prayer is to just either thank God for the blessings you've received or to like ask Him for prosperity in business. And when you mentioned that example, it actually sparked a thought about a conversation that we've had. Because I know you've been interested in investing and just asked a couple of questions about that. But then you've also like shared with me, and I want you to like maybe clarify for me a little bit what the Muslim faith's perspective is when it comes to investing, earning interest, and that sort of thing.
So investment is encouraged, but interest is not encouraged, because interest basically feels like you're stealing from somebody, the money that you get, which you get for interest. So it's always better to either make profit than do interest. That's why I try not to do anything with interest. And also it taints it taints your money when you get interest. So it's really hard to like get out of interest, especially with banks and things like that. So what's encouraged is that you collect the interest, and then all the money that is interest, you calculate all of it and you give it away to a single person. So like, let's say it's all 500, you don't give 250 here, 250 here, you give the full amount to one person to benefit, like if they are very poor and they need money, if you can't avoid interest. But if you can avoid interest, then it's always encouraged to avoid it rather. But if you can't, then so for me, just calculating that just seems like a lot of work. So because even with the interest, we also like have something we call a yearly charity, which is zakat, that you have to give, which people are encouraged to give more in Ramadan, because then you get double the blessings for everything you do in the month of Ramadan. So now I have to calculate 2% of all of that, and then I must calculate the interest. I want things that are non-interest, and then just calculate the 2% and give it away like that. So, yeah.
You're lazy, Mariam. You're lazy.
And I don't like maths. I don't like maths.
So actually, I have two questions on that. I think the first question is just to clarify. So is it about not getting money without effort? So so for example, what makes profit okay and interest not? Is it the fact that you're actually putting effort into generating a business or providing a service that then brings in profit, versus putting money in the bank and just getting interest for doing nothing?
For doing nothing.
So that's question number one. And then question number two, because I don't want it to like slip my mind, is on Ramadan. So maybe just like after you answer that, please transition into like Ramadan, and just pretend for someone at home who hears about Ramadan but doesn't really have an understanding of what Ramadan is. I mean, just a general understanding. Yeah, there's fasting, but just maybe explain a little bit about what Ramadan is and what it all entails.
So as I said earlier on, the interest is you didn't actually work for the money. It's not yours. and it's better to just give it to somebody if you can, rather than when you invest, or it has its dividends, profit you're making from doing actual business and stuff like that. So it's always better than the interest. And Ramadan, so like the 12 months we have in the normal Gregorian calendar, in the Islamic calendar, we also have those 12 months. And then one of the months are called Ramadan. This is actually the month where the Quran was actually revealed. So the Quran was given to the Prophet in this month. We also received the gift of prayer and how to pray and all those things. There were a lot of blessings were done. A lot of important things took place in Ramadan. So the purpose of fasting is, which I feel like all of us over time has just lost the concept, but the purpose of fasting is to show you how other people feel when they don't have access to food or water the entire day. And they might get one meal, they might get two meals, but in those days, like the situation that was wastage, people not taking care or caring for their neighbors and things like that. So that was the time when Ramadan was given to them, for them to learn these little habits, these little kindness things to do. So it was giving charity. Like, you can give charity throughout the year, but if you give charity in Ramadan, you're considered building. So what we called it is building bricks in heaven. So for on a normal day, you'd get 2 bricks, and then in Ramadan, you'd probably get 20, something like that. And then it's like, food, we are encouraged to share. You are encouraged to invite anyone to your house and just share a meal and stuff like that. And then it's also to show you how other people go long hours without eating or drinking. And then that satisfaction when you finally break your fast, and how a beggar, for example, would feel at that very moment. So it's to show you appreciation for little things like that. And also, as I said, the Quran was revealed, so it to bring you closer, and we are encouraged to read the entire Quran, to try to finish it in a month. So you'd find that a lot of people in Ramadan, while you are fasting, every act that you do is times by 1,000. And it varies according to a lot of people, because, like, depending on whether you're a mother or your father, you're a businessman, as long as it's good, as long as it's a good deed, you all just get a whole lot of benefits. So like a mother who's taking care of a child on a normal day, you might just see that as this is her job. But in Ramadan, in Islam, it's considered like an act of service. And then in Ramadan, it's double the price. Like, instead of her, for example, sitting and praying or reading the Quran, she's doing something for a child, she gets the exact same benefits, because it's an act of service that she's doing for somebody else. It's just being kind to other people. The same thing for a man at work. And for example, like the employee needs like an extra buck or something, and then you would loan him that money and take it out from his salary later, but it's just the kindness, the gesture, it's just to teach people to be nicer, basically. And then the hopes after Ramadan is always that people continue that way. That's the purpose. So we use that as a standing point, and then hopefully that people continue, and then it becomes a part of your lifestyle. That's basically the purpose, like considering giving food to the beggar, inviting people to your home and sharing a meal and things like that. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow. I've been schooled. You've schooled me. Wait, so just to get clarity, so you said that Ramadan is the month where the Quran was revealed, right? What month is that in particular?
So because we follow the lunar calendar, in the Gregorian calendar, it falls onto different times of the year. But
Right.
they also have their 10 months,
Mm.
and depending on the Gregorian calendar, like, so in the Western side, it's never really a certain month because
Okay.
it changes. The lunar calendar changes all the time, you
Yeah.
know. Also, the lunar calendar has 29 to 30 days, and the Gregorian has 30 to 31 days. So, yeah, it doesn't align. But as you follow with Islam, as you follow, you'd follow it like that. So Ramadan finished, and then Shawwal, and then the next few months, and then it'll carry on like that. Yeah.
Gotcha. So maybe for someone at home who, you and I know what the lunar calendar is and the differences between that and the Gregorian calendar that like the Western world sort of uses. But just very briefly, like what is the difference between these two calendars? And in terms in terms of the Quran, when it was revealed, which month in the lunar calendar was it revealed? Is it the 5th month? Is it the 10th month? Like which month was it on the lunar?
I wouldn't be able to say that because that was like thousands of years ago, and
Oh.
Maybe the lunar calendar was running then. I'm not sure, but like for example, with us with the Islamic calendar, we are still in like 1455 year 1455 1455, you know. So, and then you look at the Gregorian calendar and we are in 2025, you know. So that would be really difficult to tell, but all I can say is we do follow the moon. So sighting of the moon helps decide every month. But if you would like to know which month it is in an Islamic calendar, use the Google. Use the Google. That's the only way, you know, because the years are very different. I think like the Roman calendar started way before, and then the Islamic calendar only started when Islam was finally put into place. So we're still on 1455. So yeah, it's a big difference.
It is. It's a massive difference, actually. Now that
Yeah,
I think of it, like, yo,
yeah, 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 it is.
Okay. So just for the audience back home, Umaria broke a tooth. So she's got a dental appointment that she needs to get to, and I do want to like make sure that you have enough time just to like get ready after this call, so you make it in time for your
Yeah.
dental appointment. But just maybe a final theme to explore, just before you bounce, Mariam, and maybe Mariam, in front of all these witnesses, like I'll invite her again to come back, and maybe like we'll chop it up on another topic, or we'll go more in depth if people have like a bit more questions on just the Muslim faith, because I find it interesting. Come on. So hopefully we can have a second episode just to like chop it up a bit more. Mariam, talk me through marriage from the Muslim faith.
One of my favorite topics.
One of your favorite topics. Okay, so maybe without even okay, maybe without even limiting you, let's start it off like that. So, like, what is it about marriage that excites you, and then we'll sort of transition into the Muslim faith and its view of marriage.
That was sarcasm, my friend. Sarcasm. So for me, the concept of marriage is beautiful. Well, from everything that I know, especially in Islam. But this is 2025, you know, the people we have in these streets, human beings, life has evolved. We all have so many different personalities. We pick up all sorts of things, social media, internet, all those things. So, yeah, yeah. So there's a lot there. But the concept of marriage, from what I've learned and also what I've seen with my parents, is definitely something I would love to be a part of. It's definitely something I would have maybe started even earlier, you know. But choosing a partner is for me the most difficult thing, just because human beings are so different. People change every now and then. When you meet somebody, it could be this way today and this way tomorrow. People, like, I have a different personality. Somebody else might not be interested in. They have different personalities. We have different thoughts and ideas of even marriage itself. Like, you know, we have different concepts. And it all depends on, let me say, the village that we have grown in. So your society, the people around you, your community, everything you've seen, everything you learn, and everything you take from the internet as well. But with Islam, I don't even know how to explain it. It is beautiful, and it would be nice for everyone, I feel, before you get married, to do so I'll say this, like, a religious course on marriage itself. So, like, if there's Bible school and they teach you about marriage, so women and men can both understand their rights when getting into this kind of commitment. That's what I feel, because there's so many things, and it goes deep and deep and deep. But I feel like today's generation, us as human beings, like, it's everything we see on the internet. We're looking forward to the wedding day. We're looking forward to the honeymoon phase. But what happens after that? What happens when the love fades? What happens when you wake up and you're looking at this person and you're like, I don't even know what I'm doing here? What happens as a woman, especially when you have when you have children and it gets tiring? What happens then when you're feeling low? Is your partner going to support you? Does he understand the role that he has to play to assist you with this? What happens when his business crushes and like he's liquidated, and then you as a woman, now how do you step in? How do you support him? Things like that. There's so many things. But I just feel like people focus on the wrong things. But marriage as a whole, for me, is something I would really look forward to doing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, I think there's like an over focus on the actual like wedding as opposed to like what the ingredients are that actually make a
Make a
marriage, you know.
yes.
How do we fight? You know, do I know how you fight? Like, how do we resolve conflict? How do we get through challenging times? How do we
Yeah.
ensure that we grow from those challenging times? How do I support you? How do you support me? What
Exactly.
what what are the gender roles? Like, what is it that you expect from me as a man, and what do I expect from you as my wife? You know, like
And
emotions
a
to
lot
have.
of the times, culture also has an influence in some of the way things are done. And it's important to understand, like, whichever direction you are looking at, that you learn exactly what you as a wife needs to do and you as a husband need to do. And then I should, before getting into that, I should be accepting of that, because that way it would make the process easier. I don't want to be there and be like, oh, I have to wash dishes every day. You don't want to wash dishes, yeah? Every day. I gotta cook every day. Like, you know,
Every day, every
every
day.
day, bruh. Like, you know. So I think it's important to understand that and to know that's how it is. If you and your partner are okay with that, then that's fine. You know, you can continue. But if not, educate yourself. Like, in Islam, it encourages men to help their wives. Not saying do everything, you know. Like, if I'm not playing a traditional wife, which is, you know, sitting at home and cooking, cleaning, doing all the chores and getting ready for you, and I'm going to work at 9 to 5, you going to work at 9 to 5, my guy, like, make it make sense. You're gonna come home. Yes, there'll be days where I'll come home and I'll gladly go to the kitchen and I will cook us a meal. And then there are days where work was really exhausting. And then you help me by picking up the slack, you know, and just be like, okay, today, you know what, babe, let's order some food, let's relax once a week or something. Or, you know what, I'll just make some sandwiches. Let's have some sandwiches and go to sleep. Like, who's gonna die? You know, things like that. So it's not like, if you want things a certain way, you have to give things so that, you know, they correlate. Like, make it make sense. Just make it make sense. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. But obviously, it doesn't work in an ideal world. but it's nice to have those conversations with your partner. So, I mean, if things don't end up the way it ends up in future, people change, situations change, then, that you can't be helped. But it's nice that you go in fully explaining yourself and getting understanding of your partner, I think. I feel like it would be really helpful for you to understand where you stand and for him to let you know exactly where you stand, and the same vice versa.
So you said something that actually sparked a question. And maybe let me, just in the interest of time, let me just jump straight to the question without like setting it up. So, what is the Muslim faith's position on, sometimes a marriage just, it doesn't work, no matter how much two individuals are fighting for it to work. There are situations where, either one spouse is abusive towards the other, or infidelity happens, and for whatever reason, a separation is necessary. What is the Muslims like faith's sort of like take on that?
So in Islam, we also do have divorce, but we have it in like 3 steps.
Okay.
So, I hope I explained this properly.
Okay.
So, like, when you get married, your husband has 3 basic divorce rights in the marriage, which for you as a woman, you can ask for 1, which leaves him with 2. Okay. But
okay, okay, yeah. Okay, I'm with you.
I'm gonna try.
Okay.
So there's the first one, which means like he could say, the word is called talak, which like first divorce. Okay, but it's like a separation where you go back to your parents' house. I carry on this side. If we decide we miss each other and we regret everything and we spoke about it, it's resolved now, we can get back together. And then there's the second one, which you give, which the husband can give. But this one is like on a shaky borderline. So if he says both together, like talak, this means now you have to just both separate completely. Okay. And this will take like further assistance, like a mediator, to help it resolve. That means it's like a serious situation. You need a mediator, more like a priest, like a Molana, somebody of higher, to help you figure out exactly what's going on. And then you have the final one. Now with the final one, that means you are completely divorced. You can file for divorce and it's done. There's no coming back. Yes, talak. And they say don't even say these as a joke because it still stands. So even if you're angry, even if whatever the situation, just don't use it. That's why it's given to the men more, because they have a more temperamental, they balanced a little bit than women. Like we'd be just emotional, like just But the third one, you are unable to get back together. You both have to try separate marriages. You both have to get married to different people. Work on those marriages. If they fail, they should fail naturally. And then you can get back together. Otherwise, there's no chance of you two ever getting back together. With the other 2, you can separate. You can continue to live like a single person, but you still have the option to get back together. So with divorce, that's the 3 options that we are given, because we need time to process depending on the situation. But if it's a situation where the woman is being abused, or even a man is being abused, or like you're not being treated well, or it's just a really bad situation, then she is allowed to go to a priest or a Molana or someone who will help her give those divorces to the guy. That's why they always say it's important when you are making your marriage contract with your husband, if you can take one, just in case, the nigga flips on you one day. It is encouraged. But I think, these days, not a lot of people put that in the contract. Like, even if you don't want your husband to have a second wife, you can put that in the contract. Even if you want to have separate bedrooms, you can put that in the contract. Whatever you would like, basically.
So this contract, is it like a prenup of sorts?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So whatever you would like.
Put in the contract that, hey, you must have one wife. Hey, okay.
Yes, you can put it in the contract.
For real.
And he has to fulfill the contract. So if he breaks the contract, you can easily just say, you broke the contract, I want a divorce, my guy. Maria. Stuff like that. So there is flexibility. But as I said earlier on, it's important to teach the woman these things. That's my standpoint, that it's important for women to know their rights in a marriage and for men to know their rights, so that you can make sure that you have a blissful marriage and you don't feel like you're taken advantage of. So yes, divorce is acceptable on the extreme sides, but if it's just a case where you're just like, oh no, I just don't feel this guy anymore, like then it's a little discouraged. But if he says all 3 talaks, then it's over, nothing much you can do. But because all 3 have been said, even if you want to get back together, you cannot. Both of you should marry somebody else, experience life, let it fail naturally. It has to fail naturally. That means you have to have given it your all, and then you get back together. The reason they made this rule is to make sure that people don't take those talaks lightly. They don't take advantage of just the divorce, blurt it out. So that the difficult the situation makes it, just separate, take a break, speak about it, then see if you'd like to get back together or not. Yeah, but it should be the last option.
I know, Mariam. You see this one, talak. This one needs a whole separate podcast. Just we'll talk about marriage and all the themes connected to marriage. So when you come back next time, marriage is what we're diving into. Yeah. Also, I do want you to come back. So if we finish everything now, you're not gonna come back. You must come back. You must come back.
Don't see me again.
Yeah, but my friend, this has been such a fun chat. Thank you so much for coming and just chatting so openly. You're such a vibe. You always have such bouncy, fun energy. And yes, Mariam was saying that I don't want to come because I'm shy. Where's the shyness? Where?
Once you get into the vibe, things change.
Hi, Mariam. Thank you so much. Do you want to say bye to everyone?
Thank you, everyone, for listening. And if I said anything that you'd like to know more, contact your guy.
Exactly.
If I said anything you didn't like, you'd like me to clarify, contact your guy. Oh, I do have Instagram.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Are you comfortable with me like linking your Instagram?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, awesome. I'll do that. I'll put it in the description.
Way they can actually get to see Saudi Arabia on another level, and it's open to visitors, see how it is on the other side, because I think Saudi Arabia has been closed to the world for so long, and people are so curious about Islam and how they live their lives and things like that. So we do have tourist visas now. So you're welcome.
Yes. Beautiful. Okay, Mariam, enjoy the dentist visit.
Thank you.